Hey, everybody, welcome back to Build the Weight Loss Practice of Your Dreams, the podcast that's all about how to build a practice that brings you joy and great results for your patients, whether you're a bariatric surgeon, a bariatrician, or someone who offers medical weight loss in your practice. So I have some special guests today, and it's an actual service that I found out about through James, I'm going to introduce you to, but I'm so excited about it because as practitioners, we all know our patients need to add fitness into their regime. And what's the last thing they want to do but fitness? And they have a really cool tool that you can have in your arsenal as something to offer to your patients or something that you can actually use as a profit stream in your practice. And who doesn't like a little bit more of that? So we're going to get into a little bit of the details. As you know, we always promise to be just about 20 minutes or so, but we're going to share a lot, so get ready. And I'm going to introduce to you, this is Leah Sorrego and James Moffitt, and they are actually a couple that works together, married, and just like, I work with my husband as well, and but they've got some really great information and some cool tools that I think you're going to find really awesome and potentially awesome for your practice. So as we all grow our practices and we look at new things, I wanted to make sure this was something that you had to evaluate. They are actually the owners of Bariatric Fitness RX. You can see that at bariatricfitnessrx.com. And I'm going to let them tell you a little bit about their story and how this whole business came to be. So let us know.
Great. Thank you, Carol, for having us on.
Sure.
A little bit about my background. Well, both of us were exercise physiologists, and I started with the typical trainer route out of college. So I worked with people one-on-one. Over time, wanted to have a bigger reach, more of a global impact. I went to LA, started doing exercise videos, and continued to create content and did that. I've been doing that since 2006. And so for a while now, and created this video content so people can work out at home, and I created a workout method specifically for women a while back. But my husband came to me, and he works in medical sales. He works with a lot of bariatric practices, and he found that there were a lot of resources for nutrition and supplements and dietary considerations for bariatric patients, but what was lacking was an exercise resource. And so we were, he came to me this idea that, there needs to be a resource for these patients. And in the fitness industry, there is a huge gap between the fitness industry and bariatric patients and programs. There have been none. There's nothing out there until what we have created together. So
there's also a big bias too when you go outside of the fitness industry, because people still look at bariatric surgery as the easy way out, right? As cheating, and that's can't be further from the truth. And so, we set out to do this and really bridge that gap, and hopefully provide some really valuable resources to a patient population that really needs it and is really life-changing.
Yeah, so I started, after that, I started going to support groups and working with the bariatric patients and doing some movement classes, some fitness classes, and then brought people into my studio and worked with them one-on-one. And really try to understand all of the different considerations that they're under, the orthopedic concerns, joint mobility issues, just the dietary restrictions, not being able to eat very much food, to watch the intensity of their training. So I took all those into consideration and did a lot of research. Even that typical therapeutic exercises for just the typical average person was not something that could help them if they couldn't get up and down off the ground. It's great to do a corrective exercise, but if you can't get to the ground, you can't do it at all. So it took some time to work with them, but over time created this amazing program that was specifically designed for them so they can exercise after surgery or before surgery. It helps them to get a strong foundation.
Right. I love the fact that really you're before your time. I mean, look at where we are right now with this pandemic. Everything's moved online. So it's actually made it even that much more challenging because I know here we have a full fitness center and all that, but most practices just have to refer them somewhere and hope that takes place. And even though they refer them, you've developed some good relationships, but you're never really sure if they understand what your patients are going through. And it's anxiety producing for patients. And as you know, you have to start where they are. But the other thing I love about your your program is that because of your background, it's so well put together and choreographed, even though it's not choreographed in a difficult way. It's very easy to follow, a great flow, nothing overwhelming, easing into it. I think you really did a great job. Well, this is exciting stuff. I was wondering if you could really share exactly how it is that you serve bariatric surgeons, bariatric physicians, and most importantly, their patients.
Yeah, great. So it's kind of twofold. One is going to the bariatric practices, to their support groups, and supporting patients through that. And it's not so much about hitting on the benefits of exercise, because no one refutes that. Everybody knows that's beneficial. It's more so that people have had bad experiences with exercise in the past, either because it didn't work for them, or it's just something that they view as punishment, and it's something that they dread. And so we're very intentional when we go in there about trying to reset and improve their relationship with exercise, and really see it as something that will make them feel better. And that was also very intentional through the entire program that we created, which is, every single movement, although it might challenge you, isn't going to put you in pain. It's going to be something that actually makes you feel better. So that's the first part is with support group.
And you're in Texas, right?
Correct, down in San Antonio, yes.
Yeah, and it is a struggle. I know, I don't know if I can speak for every practice, but probably when we do support groups and it's on fitness, it's the one where everyone's like, so to get them to come, and from watching your videos, Leah, the other thing I really loved about it is that even though you're like a dynamo and in perfect shape, and looking awesome and beautiful, you don't come across as, intimidating or, or making someone feel less than what they are. Because I think that's a lot of times a stigma that people bring in. And I know to overcome that and build that trust can be hard. So
I've gone into some support groups, and so people give me a look, and I try to come up to them and approach them and be like, just try this. I promise I'm not going to make you do anything crazy. And then, they warm up to me a little bit, but it's kind of breaking that barrier and trying to find that challenge within it. It is definitely a challenge with support group. And that's why I even changed the name. You used to say like exercise class for our support group, and then no one came, and then stretching, and then therapeutic movement. And so, it helps too whenever the staff was really encouraged them to come. Like, you're really going to like this. It's not what you think. It's not going to be a boot camp. And so that was the fear with when I would walk in there. I'm like, oh my gosh, what should make us do? So
yes,
you touch on some great things. Yeah, so getting the staff to promote you. These are some really helpful things for practices.
A lot of times it would be the dietitians that would encourage them to come and really call them out. Like, come early. You're going to love this. It'll be great. It's not going to be intimidating. You can do it in your chair. I can offer an option to sit down and do the whole time. And so, I get a few looks, but then, you start to see people try to move their arms a little bit, and they engage, and they're like, that wasn't so bad. So that to me is rewarding. And,
yeah, you notice that too, because in a lot of practices, the dietitian ends up being the catch-all support group leader, social media guru, the exercise expert. They end up kind of they're the jack of all trades.
Yeah.
So to give them support and resources, and that's kind of the second piece of this is resources through the system. It's also an additional revenue stream, as you mentioned, for practices, which is always nice. It benefits them. It benefits the patient. I'm waking up right now to actually write I don't want to call it a book, but an all-inclusive guide, a complete guide to exercise after surgery. Because, like you mentioned, there's a lot that goes into going into a gym, from intimidation factor to confidence to just not knowing what to do. There's a whole, it's its own ecosystem, really, and it can be very intimidating. So we're hoping to combat a lot of that not only with this book, but also with the system, and remove a lot of the boundaries and barriers, if you will.
Right.
But yeah, especially when it comes to exercise, that you have to have the practices buy-in to support you with support group. Otherwise, that's the one that people tend to to kind of miss.
That's a good experience, yeah.
Right, because it's intimidating. So talk a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah.
more about if I'm a physician and I think I want to use the system, how does that work?
So the best way is just, contact us at hello@bariatricfitnessrx.com to start the conversation.
Right.
And what that looks like is there's a couple different models that we can kind of explore with that. But at the end of the day, we have a 4-month DVD system where you can stream it online. That really brings people from that foundational level, meeting them where they're at, regardless of if they can even get on the floor or not, to moving on to if they wanted to get into whatever modality of exercise they want to do, or play tennis with their friends, or whatever it is. And it really is step-by-step program. And so for the surgeon, it's educating them, and more so their staff, their PAs, front desks if they have a store, all the people who touch the patient, that this is an available resource now. And it's something that needs to be really promoted and urged that they get on that. It is, weight management is a comprehensive thing, right? It goes far beyond the surgery. That just resets the body. Then you have to have the dietary counseling, there's the supplements involved, and then there is exercise, right? There has to be activity. And it's not so much that people don't know that, it's just the practices that I've talked to and worked with is they feel frustrated because they don't have a readily available resource, and it takes a lot of time. You have limited time with each patient, and to break down a how to go in and exercise is as important as that may be. It's not feasible. So it's really just educating them on there is a resource now to partner with you and your patients to help them achieve long-term success.
Right. I mean, you work with surgeons every day, and I do too. And so their skill set is in the OR, and that's where they want to be, but they want that long-term success. So I've never seen a program out there like yours where it offers it specifically to bariatric patients. So I do really love that.
Neither we, and that's where we, kind of decided to do this, because it's again, it's needed and they want it. It's just, it's not there. And so it's about educating them that this is now available to you and your patients.
Right. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit. So once a patient becomes a part of your program, how do you keep them engaged? Because it's sort of a virtual relationship, so to speak. How do you keep them, moving forward? How do you keep them engaged?
That has been one of the most challenging pieces, right? Because it is a community that you're trying to build, to keep one another accountable. And that's where, our Facebook group comes in, email communication from us. I mean, we contact everybody directly. I mean, it's kind of funny. Some of the emails are signed Bariatric Fitness RX team, and this is the team, right? But and that has been a challenge, and we're trying to figure out some better methods to do. But it's a lot of email, it's a lot of communication via Facebook, and really getting people to hold one another accountable. And that's something we really learned when we were doing the video and the support group, is they really feed off the energy and successes from one another. So it's we use a lot of Facebook right now.
Yeah. Do you have is it a private Facebook page, or is it
we have two? So there's a public Facebook page, and then there is also a private one. Just because one of the things we learned is some people don't even share with their families that they had surgery. I mean, there's a big, as you know, there's a big stigma around this. There's a big bias around it, and we're trying to remove as many of those barriers and obstacles as we can. So there is also a private page that, if message us and we'll review to get in there.
Right. That's so true. What's your Facebook page? Is there a link to it from your Bariatric Fitness RX page?
Yep, it's on there, the social media stuff. And
okay.
So we're both, exercise scientists. We're trying to figure out this new world of social media.
Yeah. So speaking of that, what do you see as like a current trend or something that's going on in the business that you find exciting, and where it's going? What do you guys see that's on the horizon, so to speak, for fitness and bariatric patients?
Well, I think the most exciting thing that I've seen within patients I work with is just being able to experience, being able to do daily activities of life different, or improve their quality of life through exercise. That's the most significant thing that is exciting to me. Someone that would not even go into a store if they could not park right up next to the store. If there was a parking space left. And so I had someone who did my program, and it was hard to get her to start doing it. She did think she could do it, and start doing it. And within a few weeks, she said, I walked 10 parking spots to the store, and I actually checked out, and I did not have to sit down one time. And she was in tears, so excited. So for me, with the trend with bariatric patients, seeing that with few of them, or most of them that I worked with, that had significant mobility issues or limitations, where even after surgery, they're still working on losing that weight. They didn't have the abilities to really even walk yet that long periods of time, and getting stronger through just even that seated exercise, mobility exercises help them to build up the strength. So that's something really encouraging, and hopefully they share that, and being really vocal on social media and sharing with others, and giving others the encouragement and motivation to do that for themselves as well. And so that's the great thing about the social media trend, is people sharing their successes on social media, and other people being able to see their story and relating to it, and then trying, to go forth themselves. And so that is exciting with social media, even though we have our challenges with posting every day, and having 3 kids, and trying to balance all of work and home and everything. But it's exciting.
Word of mouth is important, because we're not them, and it's hard for people to look at Leah on the video and think that she can at all relate to anybody. And it's more so that, although that may be true, she still has the skills to help you. And so then hearing from their fellow patients and stuff. And so that's, as far as trends you ask about, especially with the quarantine and everything else, there's a lot of virtual, everything is moving to apps. We're working on one of those ourselves, because that also helps, find fitness trackers and all these other things, but also to keep people engaged with things, because a lot of this it's that community of accountability, and also just ease of use, right? It's funny, we have DVDs and online access, and it's like, who has a DVD player anymore? So it's trying to keep up. But as far as the trends is everything's just moving to apps, and really just staying on board with that, and trying to make things as easy as possible, not only for the patient, but for the practice to, like we talked about, time is always a problem for physicians and the medical assistants and everybody who touches that patient along the way, and just streamlining that as much as possible.
Right. You touched, and you guys have really been ahead of the game with what you have to offer. So I love that. And in your videos, obviously you've hand selected who's in your videos with you.
So I have 6 bariatric patients in the video, all different fitness levels and different processes along the way. Some people, they just had the surgery and they started
4
with
to
me.
6 weeks out.
And then some were I think 5 years out. So we had a whole range of different people work with, which was great for me, because I got to see, you can't do this, you can do this. And so I was able to give, all right, here's 3 modifications for this one exercise. And I told him, I was so exhausted after filming it, because I was just talking because I wanted to make sure that everyone was given the right form, and that they could do it at home, and it was doable for all levels. So even for someone who's a little more fit, because I keep talking about how people couldn't get off the floor and back up, even though we had someone who was quite fit and was doing other workout programs, but she found the benefit in a lot of that mobility work and the yoga work that goes neglected. So if you carry around so much weight and you lose it, your joints need to still be treated afterwards.
Right. I love that you included the right patient population, because that also will help ease people into it and help increase, solidify not only your credentials, but also the fact that it's working for people who are real patients.
Yeah.
So obviously you guys are looking great. What are some of your tips that you could share with busy professionals and parents and people who have a lot going on? What are some of your tips for basically living what it is that we teach our patients?
Yeah.
So
the
one, and people do not like this one, but it is probably the most helpful thing you can do once you get it started, which is whatever your exercise is going to be, do it before your day starts. Because then you only have one battle at that point, which is getting out of bed, albeit that's a very difficult one. But if you wait until after work, now you're exhausted from work. You have maybe obligations with family, with friends, with kids. You're just tired. Motivations run down. I mean, you got motivation until you're trying to build up a habit is like a battery, right? And it's fully charged at the beginning of the day. And at the end of the day, it's depleted. And unless it's a habit that it is a part of your lifestyle, it's very hard. So
more excuse at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I will attest, my husband always telling me, he's like, you've got to get up early and work out. Because I would complain like, I got to get my workout in. The kids are doing this and I'm trying to make dinner and I was trying to multitask it. And it was a dread factor all day too, because not that I dread exercise, I like doing it, but I was dreading how I was going to fit it into my day somehow. Or, you always find things to be busy with. So I started exercising early in the morning. I will say,
so that's right. Recorded, right? We can save
it's recorded. We can replay it.
All right, you're right. I got up earlier, but I'm so much, my metabolism's revved up, my brain's more alert. It takes this like stress and anxiety off of your mind, having, to get to it. And so it's one of those great things. Another thing is baby steps. I always tell people one little goal, maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 15 minutes. And you set a small goal that you can accomplish. So it will create that positive relationship with exercise and it's doable. And so you'll feel accomplished.
Yeah, there's a lot of, one step a day, every day adds up over a long time. And I want to hit on something real quick that she mentioned. So I think it's really important that she is a fitness expert and professional, and it's a part of her life and it's part of her lifestyle. And even for her to fit it in at the end of the day is a challenge. So for someone who hasn't really embraced it as their lifestyle yet, it's going to be that much harder. So if you do it before all of that, it just really helps.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads into one of the third things we're thinking about, which is this kind of all or none theory, which is especially when you're trying to build new habits and change your lifestyle, you have to give yourself some grace, right? No one's going to be perfect 100% of the time. And a lot of people start and they're so excited and motivated, which is great. But then they have one bad day. And this can be with exercise or eating, whatever. And the wheels fall off the wagon totally. And it's just, everybody has a bad day, right? And bad things happen to everybody. And you just dust yourself off and start all over again. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. Especially if you eating, I've seen that with.
It happens.
It's like one night they go out to eat, they eat something bad, then all weekend they just go, they eat whatever and they feel so bad about themselves and they don't. So, I definitely.
But those are kind of the biggest things is, get it done early, give yourself some grace, take some baby steps.
And the last thing is, I think, what I'm hitting on is neat. I'm telling other people, especially during this quarantine, is neat. Is that non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and that is all of the little movements we do that are non-exercise, like not a sports-related exercise or like your set time to work out. It's fidgeting, moving from one room to the next, running errands,
mowing the lawn, doing laundry, doing
cleaning
the dishes.
Your house. All those things add up, and so that's kind of like a newer topic with the fitness industry lately. And they're saying that people that are very active and move all day long are leaner, and it's helping with their weight loss goals over someone that does, let's say, the same exact exercise program. They're just finding the people that are more active all day, if they can be, it's really beneficial. So I tell people, clean your house, do the yard work, do those things, because it really will help add up. And you don't have to think about, oh, this is my workout time. It's not exercise. It's just those little movements.
Yeah. And you see that a lot with the quarantine, like she mentioned, because people aren't driving to work, parking, walking to the office, walking to the stores. There's Amazon Prime now. And so that is drastically changing people's behaviors, in that, all these little things that we say, park far away, take the stairs, and all these things that hopefully people are taking on as part of their lifestyles. A lot of that's been eliminated right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there are consequences to that.
So if you still exercise, do the same thing you did before quarantine, you maybe find that you're gaining weight and stuff like that. So definitely is something to think about.
I love that. That's really fun. So tell us a little bit about how people can get in touch with you. Give that little, really, because I'm thinking that this can be so beneficial to so many practices. So what's the best way to reach out to you?
That was our goal, is have every single patient needs to be doing something, right? And so the best way to reach out to us is at hello@bariatricfitnessrx.com to just start a conversation of how we might be able to provide resources to your practice, or if you're a patient, how you can get involved with the program. And that's really the best way to start. Our Facebook page is of the same name. So we'd love to hear from you and love to be able to provide a resource to those patients and really fill that need and just watch them succeed.
Right. Well, I love what you're doing. Thank you for putting that together, this quality program, and for making it very, very reasonable for patients and a great revenue stream as well. So you're doing a great thing. And our talk today has actually been helpful for all of us as individuals too. So that's been great. I think the only person I know who is so religious about working out and does it at the end of the day is my husband. But other than Tom, I'm like you. If I don't do it in the morning,
they're out there. There's some anomalies out there, but it's hard.
Well, like you said, it's only because it's ingrained in his behavior. But as you're making that behavior, it's a rough one.
Correct. It's part of his identity at that point.
Yeah.
And but you got to get there.
Yeah. Right. So this has been awesome. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and making arrangements for the kids and all that sort of thing. I just love what you're doing, and I can't wait to get this message out there. Everybody reach out to Leah and James and check it out. If you just go to their website, bariatricfitnessrx.com, you can see samples of the videos. It's really beautifully done and serving the patients. So thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Talk soon. Okay. Thanks.
All right.
All right. Bye.